How she had hoped for a birth fit for a king. How she knew her special baby deserved a special welcome. She knew there would never have been a palace, but how she would have loved to have him in the place that she called home. But it had not gone to plan, certainly not the dream of a palace, not even a home, just a shed. Was that all they were able to provide? Not grandparents, but shepherds, and smelly, dirty animals. Wasn't her bleeding body now at risk of infection from them? And if she, the mother of the newborn, was to get sick, well then what would that mean for baby Jesus? Was this how it was meant to turn out? Mary, blessed are you among women. Was this what blessing was meant to look like? Or had it gone wrong? Was it somehow their fault? Could she or Joseph had done something different and got a better outcome? All these thoughts whirring through her head. It was the small hours of the morning, and Mary suddenly became aware that it was just her and the baby, this dear, blessed, beautiful baby, and she snuggled him in close, and she kissed his tiny head, and her tears flowed freely. The tears were big and heavy, sploshing onto Jesus' swaddling bands, but she felt no desire to dry them or rein them in, for she and he were one. Her heart was his, and the love she felt compared with no other. She thought back to the birth. How powerless she had been through that pregnancy. How undignified she had become. How she'd stumbled into the stable. How her waters had broken all over her clothes. How she'd wanted her mum to be there with her. What woman should give birth without her mother by her side, she'd yelled out in anger. But already the memories were fading, because there was a new feeling now. A surge of great power rose within her, yet mingled with intense vulnerability. She glanced over to where Jesus had been born, her eyes just able to make out the dark shadows on the hay, covered with her blood, her urine. She had no control. Her body had taken on a life of its own. The pains had come on so strong, and the experience had been terrifying. Yet she, Mary, had borne through that pain and given birth. She felt both the weakest she'd ever been and the most powerful woman on earth. She was a woman, an empowered woman now, yet so small and frail and tired and worn, still bleeding, still hurting, still fearing. Jesus was latching on, attempting to draw milk. Had the milk come in? She didn't know. She couldn't be sure. She hadn't done this before. Joseph was clueless. There were no angels to help her now. For a moment she felt helpless, lost, clueless, lonely, isolated. But then she kissed the sweet baby again. She wasn't alone. She would never feel lonely again. Emmanuel, the angel had said. How could anyone feel lonely with the child of God in their arms? Emmanuel, God with us, the deepest and greatest promise of all time. And she, Mary, got to hold him in her arms. The voice of her heart declared a loud prayer into the great sky above. Oh, blessed are you, our Lord and God, King of the universe, who has blessed us with Emmanuel, her voice had whispered, and she looked back down at her own swollen breast and the baby nestled upon it. I wonder what Mary would say to us now, 2 Christmases, into a worldwide crisis of loneliness, illness, isolation. How we had hoped that 2021 would look nothing like 2020. How we were going to make up for last Christmas with double portions this Christmas, and how stark the reality has become. The morning after Christmas Day, for those who had wanted their loved ones close by but were unable, for those who gave or received visits but whose homes are now empty. I wonder if Mary would say, just hold him, just cherish a moment with him. The baby was born for you too. For you, as powerless as I was powerless, can choose to take him into your arms and cradle him in your heart. Let God become powerless in your arms, and let the power of love, your love, take over. Your overwhelming desire to hold him, cherish him, nurture him, and keep him safe. Let it be that way round for just a moment. It's God's greatest gift to you in your suffering, in this life where you are humbled by suffering, where you feel overwhelmed and out of control. In this moment, take control and hold Emmanuel. Or maybe you can hear the offer from Joseph more clearly. This is not my baby. I hold him, I cherish him, but he is not mine. He is God's baby, and he is given to you. It's your choice. You have the power to choose. Will you hold him at arm's length? Choose not to give your heart. Let others have all the joy. Will you envy me, the father of the child of God? Or will you scoff at me, the man who married a woman pregnant by another? Or will you join me in choosing to embrace the plan that God has for my life? Will you take your place in the family of God? Will you choose to simply let God be God, God out there, Creator God? Or will you let him reduce himself down into the smallest crevice in your heart? Will you let him be with you, Emmanuel? In the small hours of the night after Christmas, when all your visitors have gone, your gifts are unwrapped, and your Christmas becomes a memory, yet the pandemic still a stinging reality. And especially if you feel lonely or powerless, will you take a moment to hold baby Jesus in your heart and let him be your baby, Emmanuel, God with you?